Congregants of the Jesus Dominion International Church in Sidwell in Port Elizabeth have left the building under heavy police guard. This after protesters from various political organizations and members of the public tried to disrupt the service that Nigerian pastor Timothy Omotoso, who is the founder of the church, is standing trial on 97 charges of a sexual nature.
There were heightened tensions outside the Jesus Dominion International Church this morning. Protesters tried to block congregants from entering the premises. Metro Police had their hands full as protesters tried to stop the service going ahead. They sang outside the church, calling for congregants to vacate the building. Civic organizations stood in solidarity with various other political parties.
We condemn patriarchy in strongest terms. We condemn any form of abuse that is directed to women. That is why we are here.
Protesters also want clarity from the municipality on whether the church building is in the right zone. It's currently in the central business district.
Enough of these false pastors, and again I'm putting a demand to our government. This building, we want to know whether is it for business or church.
They're vowing also to remove that signboard saying that they will simply not have Timothy Omotoso's face on a building here in Nelson Mandela Bay.
In an exclusive interview with the SABC, a former congregant says he believes Cheryl Zondi. He alleges that women were ferried to Durban in groups and that Omotoso behaved inappropriately towards them inside the church.
And I see boyfriend and girlfriend is going on in that church. The man is full of himself. He like women, seducing women, sleeping with a lot of women, even the church members. I quit because what I saw there is a lot. I go to that church for almost 6 months. I quit. I'm in Nigeria. Even this guy here, go to that church. We are telling there, we are condemning this thing. We're supposed to come out fully and make the interview. But we married to a South African woman, and they call us now on the phone, say, don't show yourself, it's very risky.
He alleges that he received death threats from Omotoso after questioning the so-called man of God. Another congregant is accusing the nation of crucifying Omotoso, even though he hasn't been found guilty. He says Omotoso turned his life around.
Because he changed my life. I was fighting for the freedom and then I became a criminal. But Omotoso helped me a lot to know why I'm still living on earth.
The Constitution and the Bill of Rights clearly stipulate that one can practice their faith and freedom of association openly, meaning people have the right to gather and worship. But civic organizations have called on government to intervene. The state is expected to bring a new witness as the trial of Omotoso and his co-accused Zukiswa Sitho and Lusanda Sulani resumes in the Port Elizabeth High Court tomorrow. I'm Jayed Leigh Paulse for SABC News in Port Elizabeth.
Well, protesters from various political parties, religious fraternity and the public protested outside the Jesus Dominion Church in Port Elizabeth during the morning service, calling for the church to be closed down. Well, the church was founded by the controversial Nigerian pastor Timothy Omotoso, who is on trial for 97 charges of sexually related offences at the Port Elizabeth High Court. Omotoso and two co-accused, Zukiswa Sitho and Lusanda Sulani, are facing charges which include sexual assault, racketeering and human trafficking. Well, tensions were high between the congregants and the protesters. As a result, Metro Police had to intervene, preventing the protesters from entering the church premises. We now cross over to our reporter, Jayed Leigh Paulse. She is in Port Elizabeth. She has been following the story. Very good evening to you, Jay. Just take us through the chaotic scenes outside the church this morning.
Well, Well, like you saw there, Shante, it was quite chaotic outside the Jesus Dominion International Church, with both groups, hurling insults at each other. But I think what was more interesting to note is the fact that how many congregants actually came out to attend the church service, even after there were several messages on Twitter and Facebook calling for that planned protest by several organizations. We saw the ANC Women's League, we saw the ANC come out, we saw the EFF also standing in solidarity with the political party, and then we also saw trade unions such as SAFTU also throwing their weight behind political parties, calling for the closing of the Jesus Dominion International Church. But throughout the morning there were clashes. We saw some of the congregants clashing with some of the protesters, telling the congregants, we are here for you, we are here for our brothers, for our sisters, for our mothers who are in this church. Come out of the church. And they were really just asking the congregants to leave peacefully. They want to close the church down. They don't want the church to be running at all during the trial of Timothy Omotoso. But we saw the congregants there defiant, saying that they will attend church. They want to sit in the congregation, and they are not going to allow the protesters to, chase them out of church. But then 2 hours later, we did see, the police stepping in. There was a very large police contingency outside of church, making sure that both groups, don't clash. In as much as there were insults hurled, we never saw any, violence between the two groups. And then we saw the congregants later on leaving the church. Now, I know there has been some reports that the church has been shut down, but I can now say that that is not true. We have spoken to the municipality, the Nelson Mandela municipality, and the spokesperson of the municipality, Mtubanzi Mniki, has indicated that that church has not been shut down. In fact, the church does fall in the ambit of Zone 1 in the metro, which means that it is allowed to run as a private entity, and the church will not be shut down. However, the municipality has said they will be sending officials to various churches in the metro to ensure that everything is in place and that there are no illegal churches running inside Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. Shante.
Of course, you've given us word from the municipality as well as the policing contingent that also had escorted some of the protesters to restore calm. Have you been able to speak to any representative from the church for their side on what happened today?
Well, I have been in contact with Pastor Chooks. He's a pastor in the Jesus Dominion International Church, and he's actually based in East London. We have been engaging on quite a number of occasions, and he also told me that he's not going to allow, and the church is not going to allow any members of the public to stop them from or to close them down. They are going to continue. They haven't wronged anyone. They even went on to say that in as much as Timothy Omotoso is standing trial for these alleged victims that have come forward saying that he has assaulted and raped them, but the congregants of the church have not done anything wrong to anyone. And he's basically saying that, in as much as, there's so much hype around the church and there's a lot of hype around Pastor Timothy Omotoso, when it comes to the congregants, they just want to attend church, Shante. They haven't done anything wrong. And it does fall within the law to practice your religion. It is falling in the Constitution, as you know, in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It does stipulate that you can practice your religion, any denomination, fairly as well as openly as possible in South Africa. So we've seen the congregants coming out saying that they want to attend church despite all this furore about their pastor Timothy Omotoso standing trial.
Thank you very much for that update for SABC News in Port Elizabeth. Jayed Leigh Paulse just giving us some of the details around congregants of the Nigerian pastor Timothy Omotoso's church, as well as protesters and those clashes that took place this morning.